It was just another house on a quiet street in Gloucester. Peeling paint, kids' bikes out front. Nothing unusual until the digging started. What the police found buried in that back garden shook the nation to its core. Fred and Rose West weren't your typical couple. They had children, they had lodgers, they had secrets. Neighbors heard noises, smelled something odd. Some said it was nothing, others never spoke again. Inside that house, something monstrous had taken root. The kind of evil that doesn't show up at first glance. It blends in, smiles, waves at the postman, then closes the curtains. For over 20 years it went unnoticed, unchallenged, unbelievable. But it wasn't just the victims who were trapped inside. It was their own children, raised in a home built on fear and silence. One of them said too much, and that's when everything began to unravel. This isn't a story about a haunted house. It's not fiction. It happened in a street full of people, right under their feet. What they found inside 25 Cromwell Street was only the beginning. Welcome to Unveiled Crime Mysteries channel, where I unveil mysterious true crimes, some lost to time, others fresh in memory. Justice might not be served, but the shadow is unveiled. Markel lies among gentle Herefordshire fields, stone cottages, tight-knit farms, same families since forever. Yet the village birthed a man who would terrify Britain. At 8:30 a.m. on 29 September 1941, in a cramped upstairs room, Daisy West delivered her first surviving child, Frederick Walter Stephen West. Locals marveled at the baby's blonde curls and blue eyes. 6 more children followed in 10 years. The third, David, died within weeks. The clan bounced between cottages before settling at Moor Court. 8 people, 3 rooms, no water, no power, a bucket for a loo, tipped daily into a rat-ridden pit. Outside, breathtaking hills. Inside, grinding poverty. Daisy doted on Fred, calling him Mummy's blue-eyed boy. He worshipped her in return. His bond with Walter never formed. Fred reached the village school first, but lagged behind. Scruffy, mocked, barely any mates. He clung to his siblings, especially John. Though even John bullied him, summer chores filled their days. Rumors hinted the family were far too close. Talk spread of incest between Fred and Daisy. Fred later claimed Walter preyed on local girls and called it normal life in Muchmarkel. He left school at 15, illiterate, straight onto the farm beside his father, later joined by John. His hair darkened to thick, near black curls. Weekends meant Ledbury, cigarettes, pints, chips, bravado. Girls swooned over the blue eyes until they met his foul manners. If Fred fancied a girl, he grabbed her, happy to snatch her from a mate. 17, he bought a mauve 125cc James motorbike. On 28 November 1958, he plowed into cyclist Pat Mann. Pat escaped with grazes. Fred smashed his skull, broke bones, lay unconscious a week, woke with a steel plate, warped features and a limp. Dancing days gone, laughter followed him, rage surfaced, home life soured. Not long after he met 16-year-old Catherine Bernadette Costello, Rayner. They danced in Muchmarkel Hall. She was a Glaswegian tearaway with police form. Thrilled by Fred's crude attention, jealous Rose erupted. She fled back north. Fred next bedded a 13-year-old for 6 months. One night a girl slapped him. He tumbled downstairs, out cold again, woke shorter-tempered than ever. Petty theft followed. Fred and pal Brian Hill pinched jewelry, fined £4 each. Then the 13-year-old turned up pregnant. Fred faced unlawful carnal knowledge charges. Daisy banished him. He bunked with Aunt Violet. The family cut him off. He lost the farm job. The case collapsed when the girl refused to testify, and Daisy let him return. Rena came back too. In the gap she'd worked Glasgow streets, served Borstal time, fallen pregnant by an Asian bus driver. Fred tried a backstreet abortion. Caught in the act, they gave up and chose marriage. He waited for his 21st birthday so he could wed without consent. They married at Ledbury Registry on 17 November 1962. Only John attended, snapping the single photo later, headed missing when, decades on, no one could find Rena. Their wedding night, a sofa in Daisy's front room. Daisy fumed. With no prospects, they moved to Rena's patch in Scotland. Grey tenements, grim prospects. Fred demanded constant, brutal sex. Rena cried. The acts were rape in all but name. Fred urged her back into prostitution, beat her even while she was pregnant. On 22 March 1963, she gave birth to Charmaine Carol Mary. The baby's mixed race stunned Rena's kin, so the couple lied. Rena had miscarried and adopted an Asian infant. Fred loathed the child. Rose split the pair. Rena and Charmaine stayed alone in a Glasgow flat. Fred soon rejoined them at dingy 25 Savoy Street, the first of 3 number 25s in his life. Back in Muchmarkel, he bragged he was Mr. Big in Glasgow, drug lord, hard man. Truth, he drove a bright yellow Mr. Whippy van, hawked ice cream, lured teenage girls for fumbles. July 1964, Rena bore Fred's daughter Anne-Marie. He doted on her, vented fury on Charmaine. The family shifted to McClellan Street. Fred rented an allotment, planted veg, left one square raked smooth empty. Something special, he told curious neighbors. He crept there by night with young girls. 4 local girls vanished. The ground is now the M8's 13-lane knot, secrets sealed beneath tarmac, affairs mounted, an illegitimate son, Stephen, maybe another called Gareth. Fred's van struck and killed a boy. Locals hounded him. He bolted back to Muchmarkel with Charmaine and Anne-Marie. Rena stayed in Glasgow, new lover in tow, then drifted south. They parked at the Willows caravan site in Gloucester. Rena shuttled north and back. One return trip she brought friends Isa McNeil and Anna McFall, seeking work. Fred collected them in an abattoir lorry, stinking of offal. 4 adults, 2 kids, 1 tiny caravan. Friction soared. Isa and Rena plotted to flee. Besotted Anna tipped Fred off. He stormed in, snatched the children, drove Rena and Isa away. Anna stayed, to help with the kids. She dreamt of marrying Fred. Letters home painted fairy tale lies. The children ping-ponged between care and the caravan. Summer 1966, Rena raced back for them, found Anna entangled with Fred, boiled with jealousy, stole Anna's belongings, went thieving, got arrested by young WPC Hazel Savage, the same officer who would one day crack the West case. Rena got probation. Fred promised loyalty, yet juggled both women. December 1965 to January 1967, 8 brutal sex attacks hit Gloucester. Later, police likened the suspect to Fred. February 1967, 15-year-old Robin Holt, who worked with Fred, vanished, found hanged amid porn mags and crudely drawn nooses. Ruled suicide then, doubts linger now. Anna became pregnant with Fred's child. He panicked. July 1967, she vanished. Heavy with his baby, never seen again. No one filed a missing report. Social services didn't chase. Fred shifted to Lake House Caravan Park, Bishop's Cleeve. A mile away lived 13-year-old Rose Letts. Rose was born 29 November 1953 in Northam, Devon. Her father Bill, ex-Navy, neat freak, violent. Mother Daisy battled depression, endured electroconvulsive shocks while pregnant. Rose arrived days after the final jolt. A pretty infant but odd. She rocked her head for hours, thumped the cot, slipped into trances. Siblings called her Dozy Rosie and said she was as thick as 2 short planks. Bill's bleach-soaked carpets, spot checks, explosive rages ruled the house. He barred Daisy from chatting to neighbors, beat her and the children. He fixated on eldest daughter Patsy. When she escaped, his gaze turned to Rose. Rose saw this as normal and soon abused her brothers and village lads herself. Whispers spread. The family moved to Bishop's Cleeve. Rose hated school, ballooned in weight, fought bullies, gained a reputation for violence. 15, she fled with her mum to Sister Glennie's, worked the family snack van, offered sex to lorry drivers, even her brother-in-law. Soon she returned to Bill. Rumors said their relationship reignited. Daisy, struggling, moved back too. Rose landed a waitress job in a Cheltenham High Street cafe, 5-mile bus ride. By then Fred and Rena were in a nearby caravan, patched up for the moment. Fred still hunted teenage girls. One was 15-year-old Mary Basili, a cafe waitress he chatted up. On 6 January 1968, Mary disappeared. Last seen waiting for a bus on Bristol Road, Gloucester. Mary vanished. A huge search swept the county, but she was never found, and the file froze cold. When police arrested Fred in 1994, they hammered him with questions. He denied everything. Off record, he's said to have admitted the murder, yet stayed silent about the grave. Most reckon Mary was one more West victim. Grief barely settled. Fred's mother died. He buried her, then got nicked for theft, lost his job, cleaned septic tanks, finally grabbed a bread van run for a local bakery. One drop to a cafe in Chatham High Street changed everything. Behind the counter stood 15-year-old waitress Rose Letts. A few nights later, she waited for her bus. Fred limped over, started chatting. She thought the scruffy bloke was a tramp, but his flattery worked. They realized they lived a mile apart. He asked her out. They met in the Swallows pub, Bishop's Cleeve. Fred spun lies. A single dad, wife gone to Scotland, 2 little girls left behind. Truth, Rena was still round the corner, cooling off after another row. Rose fell hard. She skipped shifts, parked herself in Fred's filthy caravan, minded Charmaine and Anne-Marie, and sold sex to men he brought home. Fred asked to meet her parents. One look and they smelled the fraud. Grand claims about property and whippy vans. Utter nonsense. They kicked him out, ordered Rose to dump him. She ignored them. She kept seeing Fred in secret. Her dad called social services, branded her out of control. The council placed Rose in care until she turned 16. On her birthday, she bolted straight to Fred, soon became pregnant. Her parents raged, demanded an abortion and a breakup. She refused.
The pair rented a flat on Midland Road, Gloucester. Rose tried the happy family act, but pregnancy, a cramped flat and 2 small children wore her thin. Charmaine answered back. Rose snapped. 17 October 1970, Rose delivered a girl, Heather Rose. Social services never checked how a teenager handled 3 children. Had they looked, history might read differently. The timing was brutal. Fred got jailed 6.5 months for theft and driving offenses. 17-year-old Rose was skint, trapped, furious. She kept order with vicious beatings, mostly aimed at Charmaine. She told anyone listening she couldn't wait for Raina to reclaim those 2. Charmaine ended up in A&E with a deep leg puncture. No alarms, no reports. Even so, Rose penned steamy letters to Fred in jail, signing them, "Your ever-worshipping wife." She dragged the children on prison visits. Not long after one trip, about 15 June 1971, Charmaine disappeared. Rose told neighbors that Raina had whisked her back to Scotland. School staff swallowed the story, binned her file 3 years later. Fred walked out of prison on 24 June 1971. Rose confessed she had killed Charmaine and needed him to hide the body. Fred, in turn, likely admitted to killing Anna McFall and maybe Mary. The killings bonded them. Rose had left the little girl in the coal cellar. Fred dug a shallow grave by the back door and buried her. Guilt cracked Rose. She fled with infant Heather to her parents. Her father sent her packing. "You've made your bed, lie in it." Fred arrived, threatened that another woman would take her place. She went back, but Rena was still checking on her daughters. During a visit, she must have noticed Charmaine missing. She even asked Fred's kin in Much Markle. Fred offered to drive her to Charmaine. First he plied her with drink, then he strangled her in the car, dismembered the body at Midland Road, bagged the pieces, and buried them in a Kempley field near Anna's grave. No one reported Rena missing. Life in the flat resumed. Rose, now a full-time prostitute, worked from the bedroom while Fred watched through a spy hole. The children saw too much. The parents didn't care. With Rena and Charmaine gone, Fred and Rose married on 29 January 1972. Fred ticked bachelor on the form, despite marrying Rena in the same office years earlier. They honeymooned in Devon. Witnesses later claimed a blonde bisexual girl tagged along, never traced. Back in Gloucester they needed more space. Landlord Frank Zeigermund offered a big semi at 25 Cromwell Street, garage, cellar, perfect for Fred's dark plans. They moved in. Fred dreamed of turning the cellar into a torture den. They took lodgers for cash. Rose slept with most. One lodger, Linda Goff, helped with the kids while Rose, pregnant again, rested. June 1972, Rose bore another daughter, May. Around then the couple started abusing 8-year-old Anne-Marie, dragging her to the cellar, telling her she was lucky. The ordeal lasted years. November that year they picked up hitchhiker Caroline Owens. She nannied for a month, quit, but Fred and Rose kidnapped her, bound, gagged, raped her, then let her go. Caroline went to police. In court she couldn't face testifying. The Wests paid £25 each and walked free. They swore the next victim would not live. They fixed on Linda Goff. Rose, pregnant once more, offered her a permanent room. On 19 April 1973, Linda left home, wrote her parents a breezy note, vanished. Fred and Rose raped, tortured, killed her. Fred dismembered her for kicks, stashed parts, dropped the rest, including her bound head, into the garage inspection pit, covered it over. Linda's mum called at Cromwell Street. Rose wore Linda's slippers. Linda's clothes flapped on the line. The Wests lied that Linda had hit Anne-Marie and been evicted. Her parents searched for 2 decades before the truth surfaced. The killing continued. 15-year-old Carol Ann Cooper vanished from a Worcester bus stop, 10 November 1973. Her gagged skull and chopped bones surfaced under the cellar floor 20 years later. Next came 21-year-old student Lucy Partington. She missed the late bus on 27 December 1973, likely accepted a lift from the Wests. They tied her in the cellar, abused her, butchered her. Records show Fred turned up at A&E with a deep hand cut that same night. Lucy's family pushed for answers. Police dogs and divers scoured the area. Headlines screamed. The Wests took notice and carried on. Rose bore their son Stephen. Fred arranged to buy 25 Cromwell Street. April 1974, Swiss student Therese Siegenthaler hitchhiked towards Holyhead, crossed paths with the Wests, and disappeared into the Gloucester night. They buried her under the cellar, then built a fake chimney breast over the spot. 14 November 1974, 15-year-old Shirley Hubbard went missing after boarding a Droitwich bus. Years later, her taped skull was found in the cellar, breathing tube still in place. The house stank, echoed with hammering, yet lodgers thought Fred was just doing improvements. 1. Juanita Mott, age 15, disappeared the night before a friend's wedding, April 1975. She died suspended from a beam, was sawn apart, buried 4 feet down. Her family never reported her missing. Police visited often over petty thefts and cannabis, but sensed nothing. Survivors stayed silent from fear and shame. None suffered more than Anne Marie, raped from 8, pimped from 12, pregnant with her father's baby at 15. By 1977, Fred owned the house. He split it into downstairs family rooms and upstairs bedsits, mostly for women. He converted the cellar into bedrooms for the kids, sealing 5 bodies beneath. Rose entertained clients in a private suite with bar, TV and spy hole. They filmed everything, traded tapes, advertised in contact mags, met other couples. Among the lodgers was 18-year-old Shirley Robinson, who soon became pregnant by Fred, and so the horror rolled on. Rose fell pregnant again, this time by one of her West Indian punters. Shirley soon discovered she was carrying Fred's child too. At first Rose shrugged it off. The moment Tara arrived on 9 December 1977, mixed race, dark-eyed, jealousy set in. Fred, watching the tension, wished he'd never tangled with Shirley. Her due date was 11 June 1978. Neither she nor her baby reached it. Someone wrapped a cord round Shirley's throat in Cromwell Street and squeezed until she stopped breathing. No ritual, no torture, just disposal. The cellar was full, so Fred hacked a grave in the back garden and dumped the pieces. The cuts were savage. Shirley's scalp was flayed, the unborn child lifted out. Decades later, police found the tiny skeleton curled against its mother's scattered bones. The West still tried to grab Shirley's maternity benefits. The claim failed. Records showed she no longer lived at 25. When neighbors asked, Fred said she'd done a bunk to Germany. No one pressed. Afterwards, Rose and Fred patched things up and tried for another baby. On 17 November 1978, Rose delivered a daughter, Louise. Fred signed the register, though odds say another client was the father. May 1979, Bill Letts died at 60. Rumor swirled that he'd paid visits to Rose's room, but nothing was proved. Few mourned him. He lies in an unmarked Cheltenham grave. August 1979 brought a fresh victim, Alison Chambers, 15, resident of Jordan's Brook House, a school for hard-to-place girls. She was lonely, dreamy, ripe for promises. Rose played the kindly aunt, spoke of farm life, hearth and children. At 17, Alison left care, wrote home that she was safe with a homely family, then moved into Cromwell Street. Soon after, Fred and Rose killed her, carved up the body, buried it in the garden. When friends asked, Rose first said Alison was at their farm, then claimed she'd gone to relatives. Police never checked. Alison was no longer at risk. By 1980, Anne Marie had turned 16. Years of rape, beatings and prostitution pushed her to flee. She moved in with friends. Rose had just born a son, Barry, leaving 5 kids in the house. Fred now set sights on 10-year-old Heather. He told her, as he had told Anne Marie, that sex with her father was his right. Fred and Rose also beat her. Rose produced 2 more children, Rosemary Jr. in 1982, Luciana in 1983, both fathered, it seemed, by the same West Indian man who'd sired Tara. Chores piled on the older kids. Heather and Tara cooked, cleaned, stitched. Heather wilted under the load and the abuse. She slipped at school, smoked, shoplifted, avoided boys. Rose mocked her, called her a lesbian. Heather once ran away. A beating brought her back. Stephen followed, slept rough 3 weeks, returned to another beating. Heather, bright despite it all, sat 8 CSEs in 1986, hoping to earn wages and escape. Gossip about Fred and Rose was rife at school. Some children didn't look like their dad. The West kids were sworn to silence, but Heather let hints slip. Fred and Rose raged. Heather asked Anne Marie if she could move in. She told a friend, but the friend's parents, pals of Fred, waved it off. Jobless and hanging around the house, Heather grated on her parents. 1 row too many, and they killed her. Heather was strangled, found naked, wrists bound. No gag. Fred said he did it. Most reckon Rose dealt the fatal grip. Fred chopped off her head and limbs, tore out her fingernails, stuffed the remains in a black bin bag. When the children asked, their parents said Heather had landed work at a Devon holiday camp. Fred got Stephen to dig a fish pond hole, then buried his sister there, later paving it over. With Heather gone, Fred tried May, but she slapped him away. He called her a lesbian too. May soon moved her boyfriend in, which shielded her until Fred and Rose ordered them out. May later revealed Fred's brother John had raped her when she was 5. After Heather's death, the murders paused. Rose stopped on street work. Lodgers dwindled. They played the part of normal parents. Social workers visited twice. Nothing seemed amiss, yet the marriage creaked. Rose left briefly, took a bedsit near the younger kids' school, dated another man, then drifted back. August 1992 smashed the facade. Police kicked in the door, arrested Fred for raping 13-year-old Louise. The rest of the children went into care. Rose was charged with aiding abuse and cruelty. Fred and Rose had pulled Louise from school, claiming she was with relatives. She finally told a friend, whose mother called police. Fred sat on remand. Rose attempted suicide. Then she played the doting wife, visiting his Birmingham bail hostel, acting loved up. Observers thought she was keeping him loyal. In court, all three youngest children refused to testify. Charges collapsed, but social services kept them. Fred and Rose binned the youngsters' clothes, spoke of having more babies. Rose, sterilized after Luciana, underwent reversal, luckily without result. They thought danger had passed. Unaware detectives were hunting Heather. Constable Hazel Savage remembered Fred from decades earlier, when she'd escorted Rena from Scotland. Savage knew too many details didn't add up. A care worker meanwhile reported a remark that Heather lay under the patio. On 24 February 1994, officers arrived with a warrant to dig the garden. Fred and Rose went in for questioning. Fred cracked first, admitted killing Heather, guided police to the spot. Rose was sent home. A leg bone surfaced, then more. The scale of horror dawned. Fred confessed to 2 more murders, still shielding Rose. Journalists swarmed. Headlines screamed House of Horrors. Hidden microphones at the safe house caught Rose blaming Fred while her children believed her. 2 months on, police charged her with Linda Go's murder. She gave no comment. Fred kept talking, showed them the Much-Markle fields where he'd buried Rena, and nearby Anna McFall. Charmaine's bones turned up under the Midland Road kitchen. Rose now faced 9 murder counts. Fred carried 2 more. July 1994, the pair stood in the dock. Fred tried to touch Rose. She stared ahead. The rejection crushed him. At the second remand hearing, she ignored him again. Fred sank into despair, wept in his cell at Winson Green. He had small comforts, single bed, music player, curtains, but it was still a cage. New Year's Day 1995, Fred ate breakfast, chose lunch in the exercise yard, returned to his cell, tore his sheets into a braid, tied it to the vent, stepped on a chair, slipped the noose. Before he kicked the chair away, he scribbled a note to Rose. Happy New Year, darling. All my love forever and ever. 11:30 a.m. lunchtime. Fred carried the tray to his cell, a full hour alone. He ignored the food, stripped the sheets, tore them into ribbons, plaited them into a rope. He climbed a chair, fed the rope through the vent, shaped a noose, slipped it over his head, kicked the chair away. His neck didn't snap. He strangled slow and brutal for 55 minutes. Officers found him, cut him down, tried in vain to revive him. On the wall he had scratched, Freddy the mass murderer from Gloucester. Letters lay on the bunk, never sent, all professing love for Rose. Families were furious. How had he been left to cheat the doc? Detective Hazel Savage, hailed a hero, was caught courting a £1 million book deal and was quietly moved off the case. Anne-Marie, May and Stephen mourned the man who had abused them. Rose didn't flinch. She seemed to grasp that the full weight now sat on her shoulders. Her lawyers pressed to have the charges dropped. Fred had taken the blame. She'd said nothing. Judges disagreed. They even added 1 more count, the murder of 8-year-old Charmaine. 10 charges in total. Public sympathy, 0. Rumors swirled that warders had helped the suicide. An inquiry cleared them. Fred wanted burial in Much-Markle. Headstone engraved in perfect peace. He waits for Rose, his wife. No church would touch him. His corpse stayed in a freezer for 3 months. News of the World bought Stephen's story and found a crematorium. 29 March 1995, Canley, Coventry. Cameras everywhere. Stephen, May and Tara attended. Anne-Marie arrived uninvited, sobbing yet determined. After the service, Stephen drove the urn toward Much-Markle. Anne-Marie grabbed it. A scuffle broke out. The ashes vanished into the custody of Uncle Doug. Rose kept claiming innocence. Stephen and Tara believed her. They still blamed their dad. 3 October 1995, Winchester Crown Court. Rose, on suicide watch, entered the dock calm and confident, already dreaming of a fresh start in Ireland. Her elder children stayed away until summing up. Anne-Marie took the stand, told everything, then tried to kill herself from the trauma. Police also revealed Fred's brother John had abused her, and was due in court. He hanged himself first. Prosecutor Brian Levison branded Rose tough, resourceful, sex-obsessed, the perfect partner in crime. Fred's death, he said, was the greatest gift he could have given Rose, sparing her his cross-examination. The defense wilted under the evidence. Caroline Owen's ordeal, Anne-Marie's testimony, the bones beneath the floor. 21 November 1995, verdict day. Guilty of murdering Charmaine, Heather, Shirley Robinson. Jury went back out, returned, guilty on 7 more. Justice Mantle Rose ordered her to stand. Rosemary Pauline West, on each of the 10 counts of murder, of which you have been unanimously convicted by the jury, the sentence is one of life imprisonment. If attention is paid to what I think, you will never be released. Rose stared ahead blank as she was led away, never to walk free again. A married couple, stone cold sober, killing for twisted pleasure, a few doors from a shopping center, both scarred by warped childhoods, neither restrained by conscience. Fred's death killed many secrets. Rose still keeps the rest. 25 Cromwell Street is gone, replaced by a plain concrete path. Some say more victims lie hidden in the quiet fields of Gloucestershire and Herefordshire, and Rose locked away shows no hint she'll ever surrender their names. What do you think of this story? Leave a comment, and please don't forget to subscribe for more daily videos.